All right, they say that in film business there should be one for you, one for me, but this one's one for us. It is The Studio. It is the new Apple TV series starring Seth Rogen, and I couldn't think of a better person to have on to talk about this than a man who loves this world and hates it in equal measure, Jesse Aaronson, Criterion Corner legend, star of the stage and screen, a titan of industry, a long list of hosannas to throw at you.
Star of stage and screen.
Welcome back to the SchmearCast. How are you?
I'm just going to start off by saying star of stage and screen, that moniker is getting less and less meaningful as the months and years tick on. I'm sort of...
Reliable player of stage and screen?
Eighth man up of stage and screen, maybe. If someone drops out last minute, star of stage and screen. No, I'm good. Has there ever been a more one for us than Apple TV's The Studio?
Nope.
I mean, I really don't know.
I am giddy with excitement to do this episode. We are dedicating this entire SchmearCast to The Studio, episodes 1 and 2. There will be spoilers, but it's a comedy.
Yeah.
Feel free to listen and just have fun with us if you haven't watched yet. And if you have watched, let's do it. Jesse, no furtive looks on this podcast, okay? If I see you give a furtive look, I'm shutting that shit down. I know furtive looks. That is a reference to Martin Scorsese making a cameo here in The Studio amongst many other stars and directors and talent making cameos in a cameo-filled show. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about The Studio. Let me just ask you, how do you feel about this series through 2 episodes, this new Seth Rogen Apple TV series about a beleaguered studio executive in the year of our Lord 2025? How are you enjoying it or not enjoying it so far?
Yeah, I'm hooked already. I mean, it's catnip for me. I know it's catnip for you.
Yep.
And I just love it. I think what they're doing is really fun. Stylistically, obviously we're going to get into all this, but I think stylistically it's really fun. I think the performances so far are awesome. The poll that they have for the cameos is obviously super impressive. Who doesn't want to work on this show, it seems like. And yeah, I'm just really excited for just something really fun. You know, I found myself rewatching these episodes, which is something that sometimes I feel is homework. Mm-hmm. And this morning I woke up and I was like, you know what? I just want to watch these again because I had such a good time watching them. So that's where I'm at right now. What about you?
How do I say it? This is fucking incredible. It's absolutely brilliant. It's hysterical. But it's also so depressing and maddening, too. I want to throw things at the screen watching this show.
100%.
That's not just because of the cringe comedy that is so damn awkward, but because of the satirizing of Hollywood. It has never been more deserving of a skewering than it is right now.
Exactly.
I love this show so much, but it supremely bums me out about movie making in 2025. But the satire is razor sharp. So far, it's pulling no punches. It oozes with style.
Totally.
It looks amazing. It's got a retro 70s aesthetic in the costuming, in the use of the Oner tracking shots, in the homes and in the studio that they're in. The performances are electric. The cameos are just a wet dream. I don't know how else to say it. You said it's fun, and I want to expand on that. It is hard funny. I was worried that this would be too inside baseball. In some places, it leans into that, and I love inside baseball. Give me all the inside baseball. But I was curious, will others go for this? Will broader audiences care? Apple already has a problem that no one watches their streaming service, and I see The Studio coming down the line. I'm like, oh great, another probably very expensive show that I'm gonna love that no one's gonna watch. But this has pratfalls, this has farce, this has hard, funny elements. We shouldn't have doubted coming from Seth Rogen.
I was going to say,
Evan
man,
Goldberg.
Yes, Apple TV has a bit of a PR problem. It is inside baseball, and it might be a little jargony and wonky at times, but we're talking about Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. These are especially for millennials, these are reliable fucking comedians. I mean, I think that alone is going to draw a pretty big crowd. It's flat out hilarious, like you said. I mean, I was in tears at some points during the first 2 episodes.
So let's back things up. Let's talk about the development of the project. Do you remember when you first heard about The Studio being made as a TV show?
I guess I heard about it. maybe when a teaser dropped.
Okay.
Was the first time I heard about it. It wasn't really like super on my radar for months to come, I have to admit. So I've just been, once I saw a little teaser for it, I sort of knew that it was for me.
This whole world and life is about expectation and result, and my expectations for this were low because I thought, here's a show for me, for Hollywood, and for no one else. And I was concerned because I think a certain level of navel gazing has got us into this mess where there has to be this dichotomy of art on one side and content on the other and nothing else. Like I just said about Apple, let's be fair. As a studio, they've been known to pick up projects from other networks, scrap heaps, and overpay for them. And to be wooed by glitz and glamour and big stars. So when I hear they're doing this show, my instinct is like, what's wrong with it?
Sure.
The trade said there was a bidding war, but who really knows? And then watching this now and seeing the skewering of legacy studios, I'm thinking, is Apple the only studio who could really make this show right now?
Yeah. In any other hands, I think it would maybe feel a little hypocritical. And anytime you're making a show about greed and capitalism and compromising your morals and scrapping artistic projects for money making, you're going to have a double standard at play. Mm-hmm. But I agree, like in Netflix's hands, this would feel absolutely ridiculous. I think it's a good point that Apple TV is the right home for this.
Who knows if HBO was in that bidding war for this.
Right.
But they have David Zaslav at the helm right now, who is almost like this Bryan Cranston character in a way. Living in Bob Evans' house.
Yeah, exactly. 10 years ago, this is HBO.
Right.
It says HBO all over it. But, of course, since Max, Discovery, Zaslav, all that has kind of, the deal, the so-called deal with the devil, I guess. HBO is definitely the butt of a lot of the jokes in this opening episode.
So, later on in this SchmearCast, we are going to draft a team, a starting five, of Hollywood studio movies.
Very excited for that.
And that's movies. But first we're going to talk about TV shows. Hollywood TV shows have kind of a spotty track record, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think there's some really good ones we can mention. I feel like the pioneer is the Larry Sanders Show. Mm-hmm. HBO. An OG HBO show.
Right.
Starring Gary Shandling.
And some Larry Sanders writing alums are part of the creative team of this show. If I'm not mistaken, Peter Hike and maybe Alex Gregory, I think, have some Larry Sanders.
Another HBO show, an absolute behemoth.
The Idol. I'm kidding. That's probably the worst Hollywood show that's ever come out.
Well, it's worth mentioning that, too. But I'm talking about Entourage, which dominated TV in the mid-2000s and has aged both spectacularly and very poorly at the same time.
It's really a conundrum with that one.
Like, Entourage happened and was like a comet and remains, I don't know.
I'll help you out here. Entourage existed in a time and place in American history that we refer to as the aughts, where, men could kind of run rampant in Hollywood, and we loved that. And then some events happened with some very famous people. I think you probably know what I'm referring to. In hindsight, Entourage sometimes feels a little bit hard to defend, but it's such a great show. There's so much in there that is so relevant and such iconic characters. So
also gets to what defines these shows, I think, is a bit of intoxication. Like, you want to be in this world. I don't think you want to make a Hollywood studio show that shows you how miserable it all is.
Right.
Though I think that the studio straddles that line between showing you the misery and agita while also making this very fun and exciting, but maybe tips towards that anxiety a bit.
Yeah, we're going to have to see where it goes, if it falls down on the anxiety side or on the glorification side. I have a feeling where it's going to go, but
from the East Coast, 30 Rock, amazing.
Yep. Also from the East Coast, this one's not about film or TV, but Smash, which is about Broadway. That's a cult favorite amongst my crowd. I'm sure you've never seen an episode, and I'm sure you never will.
Absolutely right. Back to our common interest, back to the West Coast. Barry.
A
pitch black comedy, but more about the less glamorous Burbank side of things in terms of Hollywood.
again, I'm speaking as an East Coaster here, so if any West Coasters take issue with what I'm about to say, you can come at me. My DMs are always open. But I think Barry's one of the best modern Los Angeles TV shows. I mean, LA's such a figure in that show, and especially in the later seasons, the Sarah Goldberg plot is, deeply, deeply satirical and critical of Hollywood. And getting at a lot of what the studio's getting at.
And then lastly, I would throw Curb into this, which I think the 100%. Studio owes a great debt to. Yeah. Curb Your Enthusiasm, obviously. That cringe comedy using such stars and having so many cameos, but making 100%. Like the biggest, best celebrities do dumbass shit with Larry David. Great stuff.
I think that Seth Rogen has a bit of that Larry David magnetism to him, where you can get Paul Dano and Charlize Theron to do a one-liner in your episode, basically. People want to be associated with these people, and they're able to lampoon themselves in both instances. So, I mean, that's something, again, we're going to get into this, but the studio is just constantly lampooning itself, and it's great.
Couple failures, though, and as I think about this and talk through, I think there are more shows in the positive side of the ledger than the negative in terms of Hollywood studio as a setting. But failures include Studio 60 at the Sunset Strip, which was an Aaron Sorkin show coming off of West Wing that flopped. The Offer from Paramount about the making of The Godfather from a couple years back, I heard was pretty bad.
You heard, but you could have only heard from one or two people because I don't think anyone watched it.
Yep. And then I tried this out. It's crazy how recent this show is, but The Franchise from Max, which 100%. Is about Marvel and satirizing Marvel, and totally didn't work. I absolutely hated it. And it came from Armando Iannucci, and I thought it was just off and wrong in basically every single way, even though Marvel as a entity deserves that satirization.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could... I would not fault someone for getting The Franchise and the studio confused. They're about, on paper, about very similar things.
Right.
But I frankly didn't bother with The Franchise. So
all right, let's talk about the studio.
Let's do
Enough of that. We are going to talk about episode 1 and walk through it. It's a little more plot heavy. Episode 2 is a big old joke, Jesse.
Or is it?
A man of theater. What do we call that? A chamber piece? A bedroom farce? I don't know. It's a combination of all of these. And it is a oner.
It is. And episode 1 is a lot of oners too. I mean,
it is.
They're going for the oner thing. So, and we can talk about the efficacy of that if we want, but...
Okay, episode 1 opens with a cold open, and I think they know the joke because it's this very cold setting. Paul Dano has this crazy ponytail, and he's overacting, and he's like, "Die for me, baby." And he, it's important, actually, on the rewatch, I picked this up, but like what he's saying relates to the story.
It does.
And I thought it was just script bullshit that this actor is saying in the scene, but he says, "You think you got what it takes to be the boss? The crown's so heavy it'll break your fucking neck. You had the best teacher there is." And then bam, he's shot dead by a squib. There's no gunshot. You hear the bam breaking that spell of reality, and of course we're on a set with Pete Berg directing this. How'd you feel about this as an opening, especially when our lead character Matt Remick enters the picture?
I will say it's a trope. It's a very recognizable trope, and to me a super effective one at that. Pretty much any Hollywood satire is going to begin with a cold open of, a hammed up, emotive performance on a set. We'll get into some examples later, but this is a common thing to do, and I think it's really effective. Paul Dano is just absolutely fucking killing it, chewing the scenery. And
such a great actor to have do this little moment. Such a serious actor.
It's perfect. And then, you have Seth Rogen, Matt Remick enter, and he's not yet the promoted studio head. He's a higher up at Continental.
Right.
And right from the jump, you know that this guy cares about capital F films. He references Paul Dano's directorial debut, Wildlife, a movie that not many people have seen.
You could argue maybe Matt Remick hasn't seen it and just knows the right thing to say. But is it the right thing? Because Paul Dano doesn't give a shit that he just said that.
Oh, of course not. Because no one gives a shit about Wildlife or art in this movie.
No one gives a shit about Matt Remick.
Yeah, exactly.
Pete Berg gets his name wrong immediately. Yeah. We have so much built up with Seth Rogen in a great way, like a connotation of him as a performer, going all the way back to Freaks and Geeks. I mean, I don't know. We could name a million movies, but we like him. He's likable.
We like him a lot.
We want him to succeed, but we also are so used to him, just getting absolutely shafted and shit on, and so we're comfortable in this setup, I guess.
I think quickly. It's a really good point that you raised. Seth Rogen's someone who has spent, I didn't do the math here, but more than half of his life in Hollywood, making movies, writing movies, just being this recognizable, lovable stoner oaf. And so I think he's such a great cipher, or whatever you weigh in for the audience, because like you said, we're comfortable with him. We know what he brings to the table. We're excited to see him succeed, but we also expect some fuck-ups, and fuck-ups abound.
Right. So this tracking shot leads from that set through the studio into the halls of the main office. He's told by his assistant that he has a meeting with the Jenga people. And so, his inflated sense of self immediately is pierced with just that line alone, and it gets pierced even further. Very nice relationship with his assistant, played by Chase Sweet Wonders, which I thought was the most unrealistic thing of this show, but that's neither here nor there.
Why is that?
It's just he was too nice to his assistant.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I think we're meant to believe that Matt Remick's a good guy. We know that Chase Sweet Wonder is a series regular on the show.
Yeah,
her name is in the credits, so we obviously know that she has a big plot line.
She's
coming.
Getting elevated. Yep.
Yeah,
and she does in this episode.
Right. So we'll see where she goes. I'm really looking forward to that. Actually, I think she's great.
All right. So Matt is worried about a potential promotion or firing. His boss, Patty, has just been let go. Mm-hmm. We learn later that she's played by the inimitable Catherine O'Hara, but he now answers to a man named Griffin Mill, which is the exact name of Tim Robbins' character in The Player, which I don't know how we've gone 18 minutes without talking about Robert Altman's The Player. In the title, in the subject, in how it's shot, in everything. This might be the biggest inspiration for the studio, and then naming a character after that character.
If you haven't seen The Player,
stop.
I sincerely,
stop listening.
Genuinely pause this podcast. Go turn on Max and watch The Player, please.
1992 Robert Altman movie, instant 5-star.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Modern classic.
Opens with a 10-minute tracking shot of the morning at a big Hollywood studio. So this series clearly owes a lot to it.
Bryan Cranston plays Griffin Mill. We meet him. He's leathery and super tanned, and he's got this tooth necklace.
Very 70s.
Matt Remick, very Bob Evans. He's trying to tell Griffin Mill why he's the guy. And I love this. Griffin Mill says, "Tell me that. Why? Why are you the guy?" Like pumping him up while ready to fire him if he gives the wrong answer.
100%.
Says, "I heard you're into that artsy, fartsy filmmaking business." And then my favorite line in the episode. Do you want to take it away?
I would love to. One of the best lines in the episode. He says, "At Continental, we don't make films. We make movies. Movies that people want to pay to see." And he also says after that, my favorite line in the episode, one of them, there are so many. He says,
so many.
He says, "If Warner Brothers can make $1 billion fucking off the plastic tits of a pussyless doll, we should be able to make $2 billion off the legacy brand of Kool-Aid."
Right.
Can you make that happen?
He sets out a challenge for Matt Remick to make a Kool-Aid movie. Matt says, "Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah." Well, also, we should say Matt immediately folds on all of his morals, all of his beliefs, his belief in, up-and-coming filmmakers, passion projects, art, and just
his taste in green juices, which he says he doesn't want, and then when the boss asks if he wants it, he absolutely does.
We have all been there. You're with someone powerful, and they go, "Beer? I'm having a beer." "Oh, I would love a beer, sir. Thank you so much for the offer."
What do you think of Cranston here?
I mean, he's fucking Cranston, man. He's
Incredible.
Having so much fun. I think Cranston post Breaking Bad has just been a blast because he's just always trying to have fun.
So Matt pitches his team about this Kool-Aid film. He supposedly stands for a higher art form. Just gave this interview at Variety saying he wants to make prestige pictures. Catherine Hahn plays the marketing exec at this studio.
Fucking genius.
Yeah, incredible
She's
stuff.
a fucking genius. I love her more than anything.
Matt Remick has to scramble and get this movie together. It has to be about Kool-Aid. There's a $250 million budget to spend on a Kool-Aid movie.
So depressing.
Matt's lieutenant, his second in command, someone who thought he might get the job but doesn't, is named Sal, played by Ike Barinholtz. Mm-hmm. And Sal, if Matt is moralless, I don't know what Sal is.
I mean, Sal's a bottom
ring
feeder.
Of hell. Yeah.
Sal's a total bottom feeder.
We meet him, and he is so upset that Matt got the promotion and not him. He goes into the other room, fakes that he has a phone call with John Cena, and just cries and then sniffs some coke.
Yeah, and then says, John Cena says hi. Beautiful character introduction.
Sal and Matt go to get drinks with a top agent played by your friend, David Krumholtz.
My buddy David Krumholtz.
Colleague, plays an agent named Mitch Weitz.
Yeah. I want to amend the record really quick. I think you just said the correct name, but IMDb has him listed as Mitch White, but it is Mitch Weitz, which is really important because this character is a big fucking Jew. He's a macher. I mean, he's this guy.
He's the Jew of Jews.
He's the Jew of Jews. He opens the scene and he's like, "Hey, oh, you guys need some Manischewitz?"
He says, "We're almost to a minion.
Yeah,
need some Manischewitz? Shake a fucking lulav." And Seth Rogen,
they're
Matt
like,
Rogen's like, "Yeah, we're all Jewish. We get it."
And I think the first line Krumholtz says is, "And they say there's no Jews left in Hollywood." It's so good. Mitch Weitz represents a bunch of big Hollywood directors, including people like Wes Anderson. And Matt and Sal are trying to pitch the Kool-Aid movie to some of his powerful director clients, to which Mitch says, you want fucking Wes Anderson? He's going to fire me over Zoom from fucking Liechtenstein. So clearly he's not down for this plan.
He also invokes Barbie and says that Barbie is much better IP, which is sad as an idea, in fact, but also very true.
Yeah.
Says that everyone wants to fuck Barbie. No one wants to fuck the Kool-Aid Man. Ike Barinholtz turns to Seth Rogen and says, "It's true. How would you fuck him?"
Does the Kool-Aid Man even have an asshole?
But he does set up Nick Stoller for him, accomplished director Nick Stoller, who directed Seth Rogen's in the Neighbors movies, amongst many others.
Yeah.
Great that Nick Stoller is here to make fun of himself.
Exactly what I was saying about people lampooning themselves. Nick Stoller knows exactly what he brings to the table and is down to make fun of himself.
Right. So he pitches his take on the Kool-Aid movie. Mm-hmm. They like it, but I don't know if before or right after this, one of the goats of cinema enters stage right, and that's Martin Scorsese. Marty.
Fucking Marty, man. Marty.
We know Marty's a great actor.
Yeah.
Like, those who know.
Yeah.
If you've never seen his Amex commercials,
there's
one example.
Iconic.
He was on The Sopranos playing himself. He plays himself a lot, and he's always
he shows
incredible.
up in all of his own movies. I mean,
of course,
he's a legend.
Marty's got a movie for Matt. He says the budget's up there. Some may say it's extreme. And he sits Matt down. Matt wants to make a Marty movie more than he wants to make the Kool-Aid movie. Obviously, we all do.
Who wouldn't?
And Marty sits him down. He says, "Jonestown." I don't know. You're a very smart guy. Immediately, were you putting the Kool-Aid Jonestown together?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Because I saw it develop right there, and I was just like, oh my God, this is going to be
You're smarter than I am.
Incredible. No, I'm not. You're the crossword king. We all know. I'm thinking this is going to be incredible. This is going to be the most awkward thing ever. Like, I don't know how this is going to get fucked up, but I know it will get royally fucked up. And I think, when we get into the second episode, the show puts the joke out there with the premise and setup.
Yeah.
And it's going to get fucked up, and it's going to be the funniest thing, and you just don't know how. And I feel like that is great classic comedy.
Agreed. 100%. That's farce. There's a sense of dramatic irony there. You just know. You sit back and wait for it all to explode and the egg on the face, and that's the joy of watching them try to get out of it and spin their wheels. Also, I just want to say, again, people making fun of themselves. Marty's clearly... I mean, the Jonestown joke, I don't think we necessarily said yet. If you haven't gotten it thus far, Jonestown is where the phrase drinking the Kool-Aid came from. One of the biggest mass suicides in history, the Jonestown cult. They drank Kool-Aid and killed themselves. So Matt is able to spin this sort of Killers of the Flower Moon-esque vision...
Right. To fit the studio's mandate.
Exactly. But I love that Marty is down to make fun of the unfortunate Could you call it a flop? Killers of the Flower Moon? I think one of the most important cinematic pieces of this
Also
generation.
made by the studio that makes the studio.
Yeah, it made no money, won no Oscars. I mean,
right.
And Marty's like, it's a movie about American freedom. And like, it's great. It's just great writing.
So Matt is like stuck between a rock and a hard place. And here's where I get to the empathy for him. Of course, he's loaded. This is a dream job. But like, he has to, placate Martin Scorsese because he's the GOAT. He has to follow his company's mandate or he's fired. Like, there's no good answer. And what he has to do is kill Marty's movie.
Yeah.
Catherine Hahn's character, the marketing exec, mocks up this teaser to show to Griffin Mill. It is the Kool-Aid Man dancing to the Zay with all of these neon colors. And I don't think the Zay is even a real dance.
No, but it doesn't need to be because we know exactly what the Zay is. It's the most popular trend on TikTok, and everyone knows that. including Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston watches this. He asks him, what's the Kool-Aid pitch? And Matt should tell him it's Martin Scorsese making this. And he can't do it because he is spineless and weak, as Marty's very happy to tell him later on. Bryan Cranston watches this teaser. Bryan Cranston watches this teaser. His reaction's delayed. He says, that is fucking fantastic. He's doing the Zay.
It's perfect. It's so fucking funny.
Oh, man. Then Matt regurgitates that Nick Stoller take on the movie and says that, yes, he did spend $10 million to kill Martin Scorsese's movie in the womb, bought the script, killed it.
$10 million.
We're in for a collision course. We know there's a Charlize Theron party later on. And I don't know. Like, I just saw this pilot unspooling in front of me in the exact way I want a pilot to do.
Masterfully taught.
Right.
Just, you know exactly where it's going. But again, that's the joy of watching it, is like the setup, the expectation. And then when you get to it and you have to face the consequences, it's delicious.
Right. So Matt goes to his old boss, Patty's house. We've been hearing about the infamous Patty. She's played by Catherine O'Hara, who I was just talking to someone the other day. One of the most important female comedic actresses ever.
100%. I mean,
so
truly,
good. So good.
One of the greats. Take female out of it. One of the comedic greats. You're right. I mean, I think it's important to say in the tradition of amazing female comedian actors, she's one of the greatest, but she's just one of the funniest people ever to be on camera.
She is in this gorgeous pad up in the hills.
Yep.
Did you know she was going to be in this? What did you think when you saw her there?
I knew she was going to be in this because I looked at the cast, but I was just every time they mentioned Patty, I was like, okay, when are we going to meet Patty?
Right.
And there's a lot of references to asking how she's doing, and Matt is like a duck paddling just below the surface. He's like, oh yeah, she's fine. I've been talking to her. And you just know she's not going to be fine when you meet her. And the door's open and she's disheveled. Her hair's a fucking mess. She starts swearing at Seth Rogen and she's like, I quit swearing and you're making me fucking swear. I mean,
you can imagine how many like staplers she's hurled at her assistants over the years.
Yeah.
But she is the emotional through line and the pathos within this episode, I thought.
Yeah.
And she is responsible for, I thought, the realest, most authentic, most emotional scene, which, she's being twilighted as an executive.
Yeah.
But Matt, her protege, is being elevated. And that's just the grind. That's just the ladder of this world.
Yeah.
She knows he needs to tell Martin Scorsese he can't make his picture. But she says, when it comes together and you make a good movie, it's good forever. And Matt is so stressed and he's got a million problems, but there is some truth to that. That's the allure that keeps you going. That's like playing golf, and every shot you fuck up, but you hit that one perfect shot and you're like, yeah, I will pick this club up and play this game again. And I just revealed how fucking white I am here.
I know, I was going to say, I'm no golfer, but it sounds nice.
And she says to him, you know why you're going to succeed too? You had the best teacher. Which
call back to
bookends.
I was just gonna say bookends, baby.
The show loves bookends. The sun setting. It's a beautiful scene. I believe there's a rainbow
fucking
in the distance.
Incredible piece of cinematography. It's like probably a 90-second track in. It starts way the fuck out there, and it's a seamless track. You see her whole plot of land, rainbow over downtown LA, and then it tracks in and lands perfectly on them at golden hour. And it's really beautiful. And she can do both. I mean, Catherine O'Hara, she can do both.
So the episode ends at Charlize's party, and immediately they run into Martin Scorsese, Sal, and Matt. And he says, something's funny. Something's funny. He snips us out so quickly. That was a furtive look. What was that? I know a furtive look. Matt makes Sal give the news of the killing of the movie. Ike Barinholtz says it really quickly and goes, has to gasp at what he just told Marty.
No, it's great.
Marty immediately goes to Charlize Theron, like cries on her shoulder.
Yep.
Charlize, they're so happy to be at this party, kicks them out so quickly.
Literally.
Her only line in the episode
pops in with a one-liner. What does she say?
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. It's brilliant. I mean, you get Charlize to do one line.
But it's not done there, because Steve Buscemi, who was going to be the star of Martin Scorsese's Kool-Aid, I don't think he'll be the star of the Zay Kool-Aid.
No.
How do you do, fellow kids? You never know.
And Steve reveals that this was Marty's last project ever. This was his swan song. Yep. And what an honor to get to be the people making Marty's swan song.
Yeah. And that closes out a very bad and exciting and everything day for Matt Remick, our lead character.
Yep. Him
and Sal close the night drinking martinis, watching Goodfellas.
Watching the Copa shot, too. It's important, an iconic tracking shot, an iconic oner.
Saying, how good is Marty? He's the best.
He's the best. And he is.
I felt for them in a way. I know Matt loves movies. I know it. And I know that he can't express that love in this job right now, even though that's what he's building himself up to in his entire career as well.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a great ending.
I did too. There's an incredible button on the episode, which I almost hesitate to spoil. I think you should just watch it.
We'll be very quick about episode 2.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna throw this one over to you. It's extremely theatrical. Set it up and just tell the listener what goes down, and if you enjoyed it.
Setup's pretty simple. Matt and Sal are going to visit Sarah Polley, the director of Women Talking, kind of an auteur filmmaker. They're going to visit Sarah Polley's set, where she is about to execute the quote golden hour oner. This is the ending of her movie with Greta Lee. The real Greta Lee plays herself. Matt, the lover of movies, the lover of Hollywood magic, he has to be on set to watch this shot happen. And Sal is like, dude, they do not want the studio head there. This is a terrible idea, but Matt will not hear it. And they show up anyway, and I guess I'll just say hijinks ensue in the most severe way possible. You asked me if I liked this episode or not. My first watch of the episode, I had a blast. I mentioned that I rewatched it this morning.
It's very funny.
It's hilarious.
It's funnier than the first episode.
It is. It's absolutely flat out hilarious and so meticulously staged and produced and shot. It's brilliant. I mean, it's like a true piece of TV, capital TV. But my second watch of it, I was so fucking stressed out, man. I was
excruciating.
Just like, it's so excruciating. All you want is to yell at the screen, don't do it. Just fucking go away. Don't do all of the things that you do, Matt Remick. But the inevitability is amazing.
Everyone wants something from him, too. So there's this really funny push and pull, which like everyone wants him offset, but if he's going to be there, they're going to ask for the private jet. They're going to ask for the Rolling Stones track.
Yep.
Everyone's got something that they need from Daddy. He's the only one not realizing that they're just there to use him.
He can't see beyond the gauze, the amazing magic of Hollywood. He's a little kid in a candy shop watching, The Player for the first time or whatever it is.
Right.
And he wants to be a part of that Boogie Nights shot. He wants to be there for it. And no one else fucking wants him there.
Well, I think this gets to what the show is so amazing at, and it's very depressing but very true, which is that the executive is not the creative.
Right.
And you could get as close to it as possible. You can give the note that even makes it into the movie.
Right.
You're not going to be the writer. You're not going to be the director. You're not going to be the actor. I was in this world. Like, it sucks to not be that. Like, You're not happy not to be it. So you want to ingratiate yourself. You want to get yourself into it. and that's a fair human feeling.
Yeah.
But it's not needed, and if it's needed, you better get the fuck out of the way once you give that note.
I think it's a really, really keen and smart point that you're making about the dance. I think this is really the central theme of the show, but the dance between money and art. It stands to reason that if Matt Remick is bankrolling Sarah Polley passion project, then he should get a say in it. He should be on set. He should show up. He should say, I think this looks great. The dailies look awesome. But the reality is, bookends. The reality is they don't give a fuck. They're there to make the movie. They're so happy that they have the money. The money does not equate creative stake.
Right.
And I think that that's where a lot of this industry has gotten really fucked and knotted up, is that now money does equate creative stake. Right. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Did you know when the car went incorrectly into the driveway, what was going to happen with that?
1,000%. The second,
I did too.
They pull up and Sal, like Barinholtz, is like, I think they told us to park in crew parking over there, and he's like, no. I'm the studio head. I can park in the fucking driveway. I'll move the car if I have to. And spoiler alert for the end of the episode, it ruins the entire production possibly. Because of course Greta Lee,
so funny.
But Greta Lee is flying out the next morning to shoot Christopher Nolan's Jack the Ripper movie, and spoiler alert, he is a she. So there's going to be no shot tomorrow. It's over. This is it.
Oh my god. Oh, that was just so good. And back to that setup punchline, just classical delivery.
Yep.
Well, I'm so in. You know, I just want to run through those actors, and we've kind of talked about them already. Seth Rogen, maybe the most thankless role. Like, you hate his guts, but you also feel bad for him.
Yeah, I think I'm rooting for him as of now. I mean, I think it's hard to make someone root for a studio head, and I think they're doing a good job so far.
If he was more handsome, more cool, I don't think you would empathize. But him being Seth Rogen helps the matter.
He's a schlub. He's a dope, and you know, he's kind of in his.
He hates that word, by the way.
Schlub.
He's in his glow up era. He's in his renaissance.
I was just gonna say, the Seth Rogen of 2025 is pretty hot. I mean, he's cut. Yeah. He's wearing Brunello suits. I mean, he looks good.
He's looking svelte.
He is. I love you, Seth. I didn't mean to call you a schlub.
I didn't find him that funny the first time around, but the second time watching the pilot, I realized he might have the hardest job on the show, which is to be so broad and nasty and over the top.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of crude comedy is a lost art.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate him going for it, and I think it's fun.
That crude comedy, that is the bag of Seth and Evan. I mean, that's what they do. So if anyone's going to get a good performance out of a good actor in that vein, it's probably going to be them.
Right. Catherine O'Hara, delightful.
So good.
I love the line, "You're like a cat bringing a mutilated pigeon." And she says later, regarding the Kool-Aid movie that Matt sticks her onto as a producer, ew, it should have been smothered in the crib. She's got a colorful way with words.
She also has a line that is immediately going into my lexicon, for better or worse.
Tell me.
Which is, she says, as Matt shows up in regards to the golden hour Oner, his film boner is at full mast. I think a lot of people in my life,
she says that to Matt.
She says your film boner is at full mast. I think a lot of people would probably. I'm wearing a Paris, Texas T-shirt right now. I think a lot of people would accuse me of my film boner being at full mast frequently. My girlfriend, poor her, has to watch like 3 hours Soviet dramas all the time. And,
right, that's not the boner she wants. Cut that out. I couldn't help it.
It was good, but that's got to get cut.
All right, Catherine Hahn. Just wind her up, let her loose. I don't think we've seen her this manic since Step Brothers.
No, I don't think so either.
Which, she's a tremendous actress. Like,
she is.
As an actress, as a performer in her own right. But I love the directive is just go for it.
100%.
Do full-on comedy.
And her wardrobe is out of this fucking world good.
Even down to the massive Stanley Cup that she carries around.
And
then lastly, Bryan Cranston. Here's who I think he's playing, and tell me if I'm on the money here or not. Robert Evans meets Donald Trump meets Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I like that.
I
like that. I'm in for that.
Print it.
Laminate it.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to discuss what to expect coming in the episodes ahead within the studio, and then we'll wrap up with that Best Studio Films draft which is going to get very competitive and contentious. If you didn't know, Jesse and I do share a brain, so it's going to be scary. It's going to be scary what happens there.
The top 3 slots are gonna be fought over.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, I'm back with Jesse Aaronson. We just talked about the first 2 episodes of The Studio. We have that Hollywood movie draft coming up, but before we wrap on The Studio, on the show, what are you hoping for the rest of the season? These were 2 really electric, really funny episodes, but how do you now think about the rest of the season moving ahead?
I loved these episodes point blank. I just absolutely had a blast. We just talked about it for I don't know how long. And
Too long,
but I loved it. What I'm hoping for is that this show is able to transcend or say something new about Hollywood and satirize Hollywood in a new way that hasn't been done before. Because as we're going to talk about in our little draft, this is not the first Hollywood satire. This is not the first movie about the compromise between art and capitalism. And so my hope is that this is able to say something that the player didn't say, or to say something that, all these other movies we're about to talk about weren't able to say. And again, you said this is the perfect moment for this show to exist. I mean, we are at like a true bubble breaking point of studio slop. And so I think that it's a great time for this, and already I'm impressed with what it's doing. I just hope it can rise to the next level and not repeat things that have been repeated already.
Right. I think that's great to hope for. I think maybe that's, setting too high a goal.
Maybe.
Transcendence is
tough.
The best you can do.
Yeah.
I want to start a little smaller and say that I think it's fun to be funny and satirical, and this is along your lines as well. But I do hope a proper storyline transpires with stakes and with emotions. And I think it's a little easy to lose yourself in something like this.
It's easy to lose yourself in the in-jokes.
The satire. Right.
Yes.
That would make me a little sad if it does that, but so far it hasn't, and I hope it doesn't.
What are there, 8 episodes?
There are 10 episodes,
okay.
And I just see the titles of these, and they give me the sense that it's a little gimmicky, but I know better than to think that. But the titles of the next episodes are The Note, The Missing Reel, The War, The Pediatric Oncologist, Casting, The Golden Globes, CinemaCon, and The Presentation. Now, I hope this is just their clever way of being very, what do you even call that, dry or on the nose, or nodding to sitcoms of the past.
Yeah.
And there's actual stakes and emotion within these episodes. I believe that to be true.
I think so.
I just don't want the wrong end of that, I guess.
Yeah. Let me just say, transcendence was the wrong word. What I'm saying is I hope that...
It's great to hope for.
No, of course. I hope that this can just say something. I hope that there is some new part of the conversation that this adds.
Sure.
Because, as we said, the cameos are amazing. The guest stars are incredible. All of the funny little in-jokes for people... basically for Guys That Listen to the Town by Matt Bellany, which is literally played in the first episode with a cameo by Matt Bellany himself. That's great. This show is made for us, but that can be alienating for some people. The MAGA bros and the Alex Joneses of the world are, complain that Hollywood is a circle jerk, and I hope that the show isn't just a circle jerk.
Right. I think what you're speaking to is the hope that this breaks through to a broader audience.
Yeah.
Now, I think it should.
I agree.
And I hope it will. I don't know if it will.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Storylines to watch moving ahead. I think that Sal versus Matt, they say they're best friends too many times to actually be best friends, and there's no loyalty in this business, so could there be a fissure there? Patty, as the producer on Kool-Aid, can't imagine that's going to go well.
Yep.
And then Chase Sweet Wonders, we mentioned, she's an innocent idealist now. How is she going to fare in this cruel, bottom line oriented world?
Yeah.
Did you have any other storylines, or were those some of the major ones?
That's pretty much it. That's exactly what we're getting in this season.
All right. Hollywood movies.
Yep.
What makes them so intoxicating to you?
Look, I just mentioned Alex Jones and the
I don't know
world.
why, but
because
one Alex Jones mentioned too many.
Because people want to criticize Hollywood for being elitist, which it is.
Woke,
the woke mind virus, alienating. But fucking dude, movies touch everyone. Literally, no one. But they do, man. No one is immune to the power of cinema. I'm sorry. Right. I'm sorry to say it, but everyone watches movies, and they affect everyone. So
everyone watches what?
Movies.
Yes, but you could argue that movies have a smaller cultural hegemony than they have in the past, and Hollywood is not producing enough to command people's attention.
No, we're making TV shows.
There is an existential fear, and these movies get at that. This is a common refrain since the dawn of movie making, I think. All right, so we're going to create a starting five, draft against each other.
Okay.
I thought we would do this as a team up, but as I started thinking about movies, there were just too many. Here are the rules. It has to be Hollywood, so no Tropic Thunder, no Boogie Nights, which is in the Valley. Okay?
Okay. Well, that's about porn, so it's not, I know,
fine. But that's an adult movie.
Should we flip a coin? I have a standard issue United States of America quarter here. Okay, that's $0.25. This is a 2000.
For now.
Yeah, right. This is a 2000 coin from Virginia.
Nice. What's it got, a little clipper on it?
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Okay.
Jamestown.
Jonestown?
All right, I'm going to flip this.
Sure. Do you want me to call it?
Yeah, you can call it. Ready?
I'll call it heads.
Okay. Tails it is.
Good. I didn't want the first pick.
Okay,
so
tails it is.
Joke's on you, because we're going to... Are we snaking? Yeah, we got a snake.
We can't snake with two people. We just have to go back and forth. You don't get two picks right off the bat.
Fine.
Okay, then if you get two picks, I guess I get two picks right after.
Yeah, that's what a snake does.
I mean, I know that. It just seems like a snake with two people is... With the first pick in the draft... Jesse Aaronson selects Robert Altman's The Player.
Wow.
Yeah, shocker. I mean, look, it's Wemby. We all knew that The Player was going first.
I think we got a snake, by the way.
Sure, we can snake.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm taking The Player, 1992 Robert Altman movie. We already told you to pause the podcast and listen. I didn't watch that movie, so I don't need to say much else. But this is, I think, the signature Hollywood satire, and it's fucking genius. Every person that was relevant in 1992 is in this movie, and clearly inspired the studio.
All right, I am going to go with something new and something old, and I like these two on the same team together. There's another direction I can go in here, but something about this pairing feels right, and that is Singing in the Rain.
Yep.
And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
That's a nice little 1-2 punch.
That's really nice. Those are two classics right there.
Singing in the Rain is perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Just rewatched it, actually.
Yep.
And what a delight.
I saw a 5-star review on Letterboxd.
You did. Your eyes saw a 5-star review.
My eyes see Oppenheimer.
Man, the movie's so funny. It ages very well. The dancing is just tremendous.
Insane.
Gene Kelly is a god. Donald O'Connor is a god. And Debbie Reynolds gave birth to Princess Leia. And is also a goddess in her own right. No, but the movie's amazing, and it's just been referenced in so many things.
Yeah.
And Damien Chazelle, who could come up in this draft, I don't know.
He could.
Loves this movie, as everyone should. And then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood ages like the finest of wines.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people believe it to be Quentin Tarantino's best movie.
I think it might be.
Or starting to. It also has the most melancholy and beauty to it.
Yeah.
And it's Hollywood right before Manson strikes, and that is a tumultuous, fascinating time period. So that's what I got.
I just got the chills. Like, I literally got the chills thinking about that movie.
Halfway through round 2, Jesse has Robert Altman's The Player.
Yep.
Schmear has Singing in the Rain and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Jesse, your next two picks.
Okay. You know, I've spent minutes thinking about this. And I gotta be me. I gotta be true to myself. I gotta do what's best for me and my squad. And with the second and third pick in my draft, I'm going for what you could call a 1-2 punch. I'm going Barton Fink and Hail Caesar. Coen brothers. Two Coen brothers. Satires about Hollywood. Very different in flavor. Very different in feeling and tone. The former about a New York playwright, Barton Fink, played by John Turturro, heading out to Hollywood, getting the call from the big studio to write a commercial picture and struggling to figure out how the fuck to do that. Turns into a fever dream. unbelievable movie, and the second about the studio system of Hollywood and the trials and tribulations and communism and the Red Scare. Truly, I think Hail Caesar is the Coen Brothers' most underrated movie, and I think it's a maligned movie. I think that people like write it off as being bad, and to those people I say, shut the fuck up.
I love Hail Caesar.
Just go watch Hail Caesar.
It's so good.
It's so incredible from top to bottom. Brolin, Clooney, you got Alden Ehrenreich doing hilarious lasso work. You have Channing Tatum's, one of my favorite Channing Tatum performances. Maybe my very favorite Channing Tatum performance. You have Rafe doing an iconic scene. Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were. Frances McDormand.
Just
goes on
comes
and on.
up in that one. I mean, it's genius. That movie's genius.
Great
movie.
movie.
So I'm taking the Coen Brothers 1-2 punch.
Great selections.
Sort of the Amen and Asar Thompson of this draft.
Okay. Great picks.
Thank you.
I wouldn't have doubled up on the Coen. I would have diversified my portfolio like I'm about to do. Gonna head into the subgenre of noir for the next 2 picks, which goes very nicely with Hollywood, as you picked with The Player.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna be mad at me about these 2.
I think I know what one is, but let's hear it.
One of them is from the late great David Lynch, and it is titled Mulholland Drive.
Yep.
Incredible film, mysterious movie, total mindfuck.
Yep.
Could have gone with the even bigger mindfuck, which is Inland Empire, which maybe you'll select. It's not going to be my next pick.
I'm not going to be selecting
and
that.
I was not going to cheat and pick both, but I thought about it.
Yeah.
It is my podcast. And then the next noir-inflected film I'm picking, taking it way back.
I know what you're going to do. Let me just sing it. You're going for...
Sunset Boulevard.
Sunset Boulevard. Yeah, of course.
Mama Schmear's favorite movie. Just
Great
say
picks.
that. Shout out Mama Schmear.
Amazing pick.
Sunset Boulevard, for sure, is referenced here in the studio with a little bit of the Patty character.
Yes.
And even though she's a studio head, she's being put out to pasture like Norma Desmond does in Sunset Boulevard. And then, obviously, in The Player, they reference that, which I know. They reference 100 movies in The Player. That's what I'm going with. Also, the synchronicity of picking Mulholland Drive, Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful thing.
Can you explain that to some of our denser listeners? No, I'm kidding. No, those are great picks. I think, like, Justin Theroux's character in Mulholland Drive could easily just be picked up and plopped down into the studio, and I wouldn't bat an eye. These are great picks.
All right,
really
my
picks.
team so far, Singing in the Rain, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Mulholland Drive, and Sunset Boulevard. Jesse is coming at you with The Player, Barton Fink, Hail Caesar. He's got to make up some ground with these next 2.
So let me ask you a question. I don't think so. I actually think I'm doing great. We're going to have different flavors here. But I'm wondering, do we go 1-1-1-1 just for our last 4 picks?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
sure.
All right.
That's nice of you. That's kind of you.
Okay, for my next pick, what to do here? Do I go artsy fartsy? Well, actually, both of my choices that I'm looking at here are a bit artsy fartsy, but that's kind of sometimes me.
You'll be judged by the listeners and by God. So
Yeah.
do whatever you got to do.
Actually, no, fuck it. For my next pick in the draft, I'm going with a real sleeper. This is a rookie of the year candidate, but is not going to win. I'm going to go with Big Fat Liar.
What? That is such a good pick.
I thought so too.
Holy
I'm going
shit.
Big Fat Liar. Look,
That
this movie
did not come up in any of my research and is like my personal favorite movie ever. I hate myself that it didn't just pop to mind for me.
Look, that movie
I hate
taught
myself.
me. You should. You absolutely should hate yourself.
You've devastated my team.
I think I texted you and I said I have a real snake in the grass ready to unleash.
God.
And I was going to save it for the end, but you know what? Like, that movie
So
taught me
good.
so much about Hollywood as a kid.
Marty Wolf
and
Pictures, please hold.
It's iconic. Like, everything about it is iconic. And it's actually, I think, a great satire. We should mention fuck Dan Schneider, of course. But that I think the movie can still stand as an incredible
Great selection.
Thank you very much. Proud of that one.
You've totally thrown me off my roll and rhythm here. This is not a movie, so I'm not going to pick it, but I did want to select Entourage here.
Yeah, you can if you want.
That's
I'll
a TV
let
show.
You do it.
No, it's a TV show. I have some dark horses.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with the Damien Chazelle movie, Babylon, which I saw in theaters amidst all of the hullabaloo of what a big flop it was. And before the Babylon Hive rose and Sean Fennessy created his minions and put them to work, I knew seeing that movie, that was a great movie.
Yes.
That'll age well. I actually haven't seen it since theaters, but I'm dying to rewatch it. Phenomenal craft. Really great performances from tremendous actors.
Big Singing in the Rain reference at the end.
Huge Singing in the Rain reference. Whatever happens to Damien Chazelle, I know he's making the Evel Knievel movie now. You know, like that line Patty says, you make a good movie, it lasts forever. And that will be Babylon as it stands the test of time. That rounds out my top 5.
Wait, no, that was only 4.
No, that's 5. Singing in the Rain, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Mulholland Drive, Sunset Boulevard, and Babylon.
Okay. Yeah, I rewatched the first 35 minutes of Babylon this morning. It's so good, man. I actually forgot that it was over 3 hours. I knew it was really long, but I was like, oh fuck, this is really 3 hours and 9 minutes. That's nuts.
Right.
And Damien Chazelle is in director jail, and he
blank checked that shit.
He did, and God love him for it. Awesome movie. Great pick. For my last pick in the draft, I'm going to choose one. I'm going to be me again. I wouldn't be me if I didn't choose something like this. And I sometimes feel like I have to come on this podcast and do my thing. So for the OG Day One Schmear Hunter listeners who remember...
Oh, I know what's coming.
a few episodes of the Criterion Corner. Going back to my roots.
R.I.P.
I'm choosing... You know what I'm choosing. Preston Sturgis's Sullivan's Travels.
I thought you were going to choose Hollywood Shuffle. From Robert Townsend.
No.
Okay.
That movie, look, I love Hollywood Shuffle, but to me is more about acting than it is about filmmaking. I don't know. It's a great movie, but
I've never seen Sullivan's Travels.
Oh man, I think that a lot of people probably that are going to listen to this haven't, and I recommend everyone do it. Preston Sturges is one of my favorite filmmakers ever. Sharpest dialogue in the game, just some of the most laugh out loud, raucous hilarity that you will ever see. And Sullivan's Travels is about a studio head, he's not a studio head, he's a big director, James P. Sullivan, and he wants to set out to make great, meaningful art with gravitas. But everyone says, what the fuck do you know? You were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. So he hatches up this scheme to set out on the road as a hobo with his little bindle, and he wants to go see the real people of America so he can make this movie. And I think it's incredible and just so funny. Everyone should watch Sullivan's Travels. It's an awesome movie.
I'm pretty annoyed with you because just looking at our teams, you've built like the indie, ironic, cool kid team.
Exactly.
And you made me look stupid picking the heavy hitters.
Right.
In a sly bit of one-upsmanship, you really snuck right under and did that. And
some people are going to fault me, though, for having 2 Coen brothers. Some people are going to say the player was the obvious choice. He's going to be a bust, but I am who I am.
The teams are, for Jesse, the player, Barton Fink, Hail Caesar, Big Fat Liar, sleeper pick there, and Sullivan's Travels. And then for Schmear, Captain Obvious over here, Singing in the Rain, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Mulholland Drive, Sunset Boulevard, and Babylon.
Yeah, but listen.
I'm a meme.
Hang
what
on.
have you done to me?
You are a meme, but I hear 5-star classic, 5-star classic, 5-star classic, 5-star classic, and arguably 5-star classic. For some people, 1-star flop, but for us, 5-star classic. You got 5-star classics there.
Well, you have a 6-star in Big Fat Liar. First 6-star movie ever.
All right, pictures.
Jesse, a lot of fun to talk to you about the studio. And you'll be back on. We're going to wait until we have 2 more episodes to cover, I think.
Sweet.
I'll see you in a week or 2.
See you then, brother.
For now, thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, people should watch this show, shouldn't they?
Definitely.
All right, Jesse. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.